Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Crypto Crow, and today we're going to be talking about a project that you don't see talked about very much, but it may very well be an undiscovered gem, and we're going to deep dive into it a bit. First, I want to touch base on a little bit of Cardano news. Cardano takes a big step forward as governance testnet website launches. So this is pretty decent news. Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson makes the exciting announcement that the website for the CIP 1694 testnet, SanchoNet, is now live. CIP 1694, named after the birth year of Voltaire, Cardano's governance protocol, is the focal point around the start of Cardano's Voltaire era, which brings on governance. The Cardano improvement proposal contains specific and organizational notes about topics related to on-chain governance for Cardano. This is a big deal. Honestly, someday I want to see elections held on Cardano through Voltaire. I would like to write some sort of proposal paper on it. Our election system needs to be completely changed. I'm not saying it needs to happen on Cardano. I'm sure it never will, but you never know. And I would like to see some drastic changes to the way our elections are handled. I just don't think there's faith anymore. I mean, we've had both sides of the aisle complaining about election issues for a decade now, and it's just, what's the answer to that? A technocracy? I mean, is that where we're heading? Is that what's happening? I don't know, but I'm really kind of tired of the back and forth. I'm tired of all of the gobbledygook going on. Like, why can't anything just be the way it's supposed to be without two people just or powers going head to head in the most dirtiest of ways? I'm over it, legitimately. So anyway, we are going to be talking about Iagon. Now, I'm assuming many of you don't know what this is. You've probably never heard of it. You don't know much about it. And I, luckily, thanks to my help, Jason Starr, who has been helping me with just basically pulling numbers apart, bringing data into my metric system and things like that. I've been lucky enough to have some help with some folks. And this looks very, very promising. I'll tell you from the get-go, I believe that Iagon could be the Filecoin of Cardano. And we're going to dive into it a bit. So enable share storage economy. This is basically all about kind of a decentralized way of storing data in a bit of a peer-to-peer network that you can take part in right now. Basically, like you are able to, if you have extra storage space, or you've got a server farm, or you've got anything and you want to generate some revenue from it, this is an opportunity that you might want to be looking into. And we're going to go into some metrics. We're going to go into my metric system for our total score at the end. And we're going to show some comparisons of similar projects that have launched and how those have performed. But this is basically a project headed up by 4 PhDs. And it originally started, you can read it right here. Basically, a health professional's quest for medical records led to a global democratic supercomputer. Basically, what this boils down to, and we've seen this time and time again over the years, where we've seen medical professionals complaining about the difficulty in exchanging data in the medical field. Even as a consumer, as a patient, oftentimes, exchanging your medical data from one doctor to another, one hospital to another, can be fairly daunting. And I know some hospitals are starting to utilize like their own internal systems. And you can log into it, you can check your lab reports, you can do all this stuff. But this isn't necessarily a national thing, right? And ultimately, we're looking towards a more of a national database that is, I would think, should be decentralized and secured and encrypted and all of that. Well, Iagon is basically offering that. And keep in mind, this is not a paid segment. I'm doing this segment because I want to. Okay, I think this is actually pretty promising. Dr. Naveed Dhaliwal. Give me a like if I pronounce that right. If you're Indian and I did a good job on that, because I'm terrible with names. Dr. Elad Harrison, Dr. Claudio Lima, Dr. Rohit Gupta. Now, these are all 4 co-founders, and apparently they're all 4 PhDs. And you have your advisory staff, Matthew Engel. Why does that name ring a bell with me? I think I know Matthew Engel. I think he's been a part of the Cardano community for a while, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Matthew. Darren Kamas and Elliot Talbot. Now, 4 PhDs lead with extensive experience and knowledge in AI cloud computing. 19 full-time team members, including developers and marketers. 4 locations worldwide opened in Oslo, Poland, Australia, and Nepal. Notice there's nothing in the US yet. I wonder why. I don't know. So this is actually pretty slick. So basically what this boils down to is it's built on Cardano. It's green, environmentally friendly blockchain due to its cost efficiency, scalability, interoperability, and smart contract capabilities. High security through file encryption, encoding, and our unique sharded Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. I'm being immature. Algorithm. We are able to store files with any desired redundancy and security. I will point out their website needs some work because there's a lot of this. Cut off words and things. Come on, PhDs. Listen, I've worked with some brilliant PhDs before, and stuff like design always escapes them. Even hardcore developers have no idea about, design. So I can't, unless maybe it's because it just doesn't resize properly in my giant screen right now. Made for Web3, embracing the future of metaverse. Now, this is a key thing. While its inception was sparked by the idea of being able to store medical data, the use case for this is obviously endless. I mean, you can store any kind of data of any sort across this network. And it will be used as such because metaverses are going to become dramatic hogs of data and resources. And I do believe that projects like this are ultimately what's going to house a lot of virtual world think about it this way. In the realm where AI is legitimately taking over so many things in Web3 and the internet, what's ultimately going to happen? Well, as AI models continue to learn, whether it's through the usage of its public or whatever, the databases are going to continue growing. And we're going to get to a point where these AI databases are so infinitely large and exponentially growing that we're going to have to utilize applications such as this with stored storage, decentralized storage, and cloud-based storage in a peer-to-peer network. We're going to have to, because there's no way we're going to be able to house all of this data. And that's just in AI, let alone everything else in the world being developed, which is one of the reasons why I think projects like Iagon are going to do very, very well. Network Performance Explorer. Now, if you look into the roadmap is extensive and stops at 2025, obviously, because they know that 2025 is likely going to be the peak of this next cycle if there is one. I am of the belief that once we get through this bear cycle, I know I've done a recent video where I've talked about how I think the bear market is officially over. It doesn't necessarily mean that the price can't drop. I just don't think that we're going to crash to new lows. That's ultimate. I wanted to make that clarification as well, because as you know, since I made that call, the price has dipped like 2 cents in Cardano, and but ultimately it's still all kind of hovering. Now, if you go all the way down, you can scroll through this and you can look through their roadmap to get a much more deep idea as to what's happening and what's coming. Fresh website release and UI UX updates. Ooh, there's a big yawn. In 2023, tokenomics on Cardano update, decentralized storage mainnet, invoice DApp new features. I mean, you can just scroll down and it goes all the way down. And once we get closer to 2025, you start to see some more significant updates. In 2024, entire security and architectural audit. Now, they've had some unknown audits, which you're going to see in my metrics readout, but not by anything substantial. And I'm thinking that they're doing some of this stuff by piecemeal, just saying, hey, here's where we're at. Let's take a look. Okay, it looks okay. All right, we continue to move forward. And then I think in 2024, once the meat of this, the bulk of it is live and ready, then they're going to do an entire security and architectural audit, which is smart. And that's one of the reasons why my review metrics are basically living, because what they are today could change tomorrow depending on its performance and what's going on. It's just kind of a base plate for what to look into. Decentralized compute in 2024, GDPR compliance tracker for enterprise use, which is going to be a big deal. That's in 2024. Now, the Network Explorer itself isn't coming until 2025. I think this is going to be substantial for being able to gauge the use and adoption of this decentralized system. And I think this is ultimately going to be a significant catalyst for the project's financial growth as it relates to its token. I could be wrong, but ultimately when we can see exactly what's happening on the network and we can get an idea, as we see the use grow, then that builds confidence in more usage growth, right? So that's ultimately going to be a really good thing. I'd like to see that in 2024 personally. If there's any way they can push this up to 2024, I think it'd help them substantially. Reputation model of 2025. All the rest of the stuff is basically happening in 2025, and that all looks fantastic. Now, you can earn right now. You can basically join in and become a part of this. And there are a lot of different metrics for how your participation is valued to the system. Everything from uptime, latency, all of that kind of stuff. So you can take a look at this if you're interested. If you've got some extra storage space and you want to earn, they're actually utilizing stable coins as the default means of payment to trade storage between storage providers and consumers. So in effect, this could be more beneficial than mining to some degree. And maybe you take what you're quote unquote mining through your participation in shared storage revenue streams and put that into the crypto of your choosing. But I'm honestly looking at IAG as a potential winner in the next peak of the bull market. You can calculate your rewards through uptime, network commission performance, and all of that. Now, let's take a look at the pricing. Right now, the price is currently sitting at 6 cents, which is not high. That a 6-cent token is pretty decent. Its all-time high has not been that much because it's, not that old. It looks like its original all-time high was around 13 cents. So, and that was 14 cents, and that was in September of 2021. If you look at the roadmap, you understand why. It's still pretty much new. This isn't the project, the team, everybody have been working on this for years, but the actual application is all their integration and all of that stuff is still relatively new. All-time low was a fraction of a penny. Okay, so this has grown substantially over time, but I'm really interested in this. It's in only 3,832 watch lists. This is a baby, folks. This is a baby. When we jump into the actual metrics, you're going to see. Now, what's some of the competitors? Well, technically, one of the competitors is Filecoin. Filecoin's currently trading at $3.70. What was its all-time high? $237. Now, I haven't compared the tokenomics of either yet. I haven't, because it doesn't really matter to me in this instance. Filecoin is more of an Ethereum-based system, and Iagon is Cardano-based. So I believe that Iagon could become like the Filecoin of Cardano, and if it does, it's not looking too bad, okay? So, and especially as more applications, more apps, all of this stuff is continuing to be built on Cardano, well, they're going to want a Cardano-based system that's similar to Filecoin, but on the Cardano blockchain. Interoperability and all that stuff is obviously going to play a factor, but ultimately, I think this is going to be widely adopted over time. As who knows? I don't even know. I mean, cornucopias could utilize stuff like this. A lot of these metaverses are going to be able to utilize stuff like this. I don't know how many of them even know this exists yet because their marketing hasn't been abundant, obviously. Nobody here has reached out to me for anything. So, and typically they're on all of us. Let's just put it that way. Now, this is Golem. And if some of you guys remember way back, I loved Golem. And I thought Golem was going to do really, really well. And I know I still hold some on an old wallet. I haven't even touched it, but I know I own some Golem. And if we look at it, its market capitalization is at $176 million. It has done very well, about $4.5 million in daily trade volume, but it's down about 52% on the 24-hour. So it's been slowing down a little bit like the rest of the market has. But if we look at its metrics, Its all-time high was $1.25. Okay, and its all-time low was a fraction of a penny, up 2,000% since then. That was 7 years ago. Now, Golem is different because this is basically, Golem is more like a decentralization of computing power itself, not necessarily data storage. But it's just to show you that there is a significant demand in applications like this on pretty much any blockchain anywhere in the world. This is a global use case that is going to continue growing. Personally, I like Iagon. Now, let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to take a look at the actual metrics breakdown before I send you on your merry way. And you guys can tell me what you guys think in the comments, and hit that like button if you don't mind. So let's take a look. So Iagon, I want to make this bigger, and I want to bring this to the background a little bit here. So I should have had this all prepared. I thought I did, but I didn't realize it was blocking my disclaimer, and I don't like blocking my disclaimer, even though I show it at the beginning of the videos. All right, so number one, market capitalization under 100 million. It's got 3 points. I can't even read it. It's too small, so I'll just pull this up. There we go. All right. Okay, trade volume, it's under 10 million, which isn't bad, but it's only got 2 points for that. Circulating supply is under 40%, which only gets 2 points. Total supply, under 1 billion, which is okay. I like to see total supplies in the millions personally, but for a use case like this, it's okay. But it's got 3 points for that. Social metrics are low. We're not seeing this anywhere. We're not hearing about it anywhere. Nobody's really buzzing or talking about it because it's not sexy. It's not, oh, I'm going to make my 10 cents and I'm going to turn it into $10 in 3 days. It's not that sexy, but it is a much more legitimate use case, I think, than a lot of what's out there. And the problem is that I see is it seems like a lot of the cryptocurrency elements out there in the world, different projects that focus on finance, those are the ones that generally create more FOMO. But I think that projects like this with significant use cases are about longevity, which is why I believe it's a safer bet than other things. You might not make as much money on the front end as something that's finance related. And then once that project dumps on everybody and then everybody makes their money or they make their losses, and then it goes to the wayside for the next competitor come up, 2 years later that pops its head out of the sand. So to each their own. Not all projects are like that, but that's just from what I've seen. So I'd like to see social metrics per away, hopefully after this video, if anybody takes any interest. The team, 4 points. It's got an experienced team. You can't, 4 PhDs, let's be real about it. None of them are significant names in any particular realm, but obviously having a PhD is a pretty good thing. Use case, this is global demand. This is a 5. Okay, this is an absolute 5. This is going to be utilized by projects all over the world. And I think its use case demand is going to continue growing month after month after month, especially as AI continues to develop. Time of existence, 4+ years. It's got 10 points. This is a double score metric here. It's getting 2 points because it does have an unknown audit. It's not necessarily a huge deal. It's not like Certic or Hack'em or anything like that. But that's, they're working on those things, and we're going to see some significant audits in the future as per their roadmap. They get 4 points for the number of DEX holders being under 20,000. That will continue to grow. I'm quite confident. They get 2 points just because they haven't had any hacks or security issues to date. And that's pretty good. They get 1 point because it's not a layer 1. The overall total score is 44, which falls into the has potential category. And that's basically what I think. I think that has a lot of potential. I think we're going to see and start hearing more and more about Iagon over the near future. And I might actually go grab myself a few tokens just to have some and to keep it on my watch list, because, likely I might be updating people on Iagon in the future as they meet some more of their milestones and things. But as a Cardano project, I love it. As a strong use case that's basically headed up by some strong minds, I'm all about it. So we'll see where it goes. Until next time, guys, grow your coins, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me.